Dystopia warning, obviously. I was going to say welcome back to the land of hope and glory, but a bit awkward, isn't it? Then was going to say welcome back to the, formerly Great Britain, but again, when's it ever been great? I mean, colonialism, that was a real low point, wasn't it? Anyway, the reason I've got that there is because I want to talk to you about fake patriotism, disinformation, and the right-wing populists that are exploiting the fact that a lot of people in Britain nowadays will believe anything. And the fact that by calling them out, I'm actually the real patriot in this. A lot of people have been asking me lately about crackpot theories that are promoted by, GB News. Reform themselves, reform voters. And of course, a lot of it comes back to that badly varnished, evil ventriloquist dummy, Farage. A man so badly tanned from all his foreign holidays, ironically, that he's almost changing race. Yeah, I've got some theories of my own on this, but I'm also really well aware that calling out the conspiracy theories and the con artists that promote them itself sounds like a conspiracy. You start to sound mad like them. The difference is the sources of information. I take this very seriously. There's a lot of people out there that spread nonsense for clout. I'm only concerned with the truth. What it comes down to is your sources, the legitimacy of those sources, the fact that you've fact-checked your sources. I get my information from what would be considered independent sources, places like Byline, Open Democracy, etc. Now, the difference between them and something like a journalist, inverted commas, that works at the Daily Express, is that an independent journalist isn't bound by the ethos or the narrative or the political bias of an outlet. They don't deal in sensationalism, scoop culture, which is basically playing nice with a politician in order to get future sources of information, which again is basically just pushing the party line. And they're not employed by billionaire barons who don't live in Britain, don't pay taxes here, yet act above the law and the governments, choose our politicians and set the national conversation. In short, I don't base my views or videos on fucking Facebook memes that tell you brown people are trying to steal Christmas. But the nature of our print media has laid the groundwork for disinformation to take root. Sensationalised headlines, they're fueled by outrage. Any balance or elaboration, if it exists at all, is hidden deep in the copy, which people rarely read, and they know it. Also, alarmingly, as seen in the run-up to the general election, certain parties using racist caricatures, which feels a lot like 1930s propaganda. They're also backed by, autocrats in other countries. Add on to that tech bro, right-wing, nut jobs, running social media apps into the ground and adopting what the papers used, which is a culture of outrage. They don't care about truth or fact or evidence, just outrage. I don't consider these things to be newspapers. No, I consider them to be a PR arm of the Conservative Party. And if you look at how old Etonians, privately educated Tories, play at being stockbrokers, crash the economy, then they play at being an MP or Prime Minister, fuck that up, and then they head up a right-wing newspaper. Politicians have consistently failed to deal with disinformation because it benefited them. Millions of people not thinking critically, blaming the person they've chosen in their culture war to scapegoat. It's a perfect outcome for them, isn't it? Doesn't matter if the main perpetrators are linked to, Russian autocrats or the far right, because many of them were too. So the Tories laid a lot of groundwork for this, knowing that a divided, chaotic population is more likely to punch down than look up and see who's really responsible. You see, the rise of disinformation being pushed by right-wing populists is entirely by design. They exacerbate or implement fears, bigotry, usually by using the Bannon playbook. People which have already started to disregard facts and evidence are susceptible to the con. In Britain, we used to laugh at Americans for this shit. Now it's becoming increasingly common. But it's not happening by accident. Just look at the links between certain mad factions of the Conservative Party, Braverman, Truss, that twat, and the US right wing. People who are poor, uneducated, disillusioned are easily led into believing that a scapegoat is to blame. Target a really deprived area like Reform like to. Bombard them with tailored, Facebook memes, Facebook groups, visits from grifters. Blame someone marginalised, usually an asylum seeker, someone without agency or power, a refugee, a trans person. Next, all the right-wing populist needs to do is create an echo chamber for the nonsense to fester, usually mainstream and independent media alike, places like GB News. Newspapers that are happy to shill for a politician that uses, their status or their wealth as a veil of respectability, or a sensationalist politician that provides them with good copy. Used to be the only way, but now, as I've mentioned, we've got cyber ops to push the psyops. Proven with Brexit and Bannon's Cambridge Analytica, Putin's involvement and interference in Brexit, which was highly illegal and undemocratic. Then all you need are politicians that are susceptible to a bribe or a honey trap, traitors essentially, who will willingly disrupt Britain for a donor, a hedge funder, disaster capitalists. All they need to do is echo the constructed narrative about the scapegoated figure, repeat the talking points, add a bit of golden age thinking for those people that are stuck in a painful reality caused by the Conservative government. People that might see the past as a comfort. They use nostalgia as a marketing tool, suggest, but never directly of course, that everything was better when most people in your area were white. And voila, millions of people vote for the cause, the carefully constructed cause, who very wrongly see them as the solution. It's clever and well executed, I'll give them that, but it is a multifaceted con job. It's like a cunty inception. That's why reform don't target university towns, as I've mentioned before. They target people susceptible to their con. Often people that are deeply failed by right-wing politicians, who believe the propaganda about left-wing politicians, who need help that people like that will never provide, because all they care about is money, status, power, and popularity. They don't give a solitary shit about their targets or the scapegoats, but they make people believe they're relatable, likeable. But thinking someone like that really cares about you is akin to thinking that the stripper that's just completed her lap dance really has a connection with you. And because these figures normally have like a very sidelined grip on power, like barely any presence in the House of Commons, they can continuously blame the government, play the role of the rebellious saviour, railing against the elite, which is laughable because they're privately educated city boys, so clearly are the fucking elite. Meanwhile, lucrative connections, donors from being an MP doesn't just put them above the law, it boosts their income and their profile as the town they're supposed to represent suffers and as the whole country declines, as more people become radicalised by the methods they use to attain power, becoming even more susceptible to disinformation and getting even more angry towards the scapegoated figure. This kind of loop doesn't benefit them. No, it benefits them. They'll dine in members' clubs, spending on one meal what a radicalised rioter might have to spend for an entire month on their food budget. I say spend, they'll charge it to us before denouncing people on benefits as scroungers, because this is how it fucking works. And this is why I call them traitors. And this is why I believe that people like us caring about this country are the real patriots. Because just like the Tories before them, they despise the people that vote for them. They're just a head to stamp on to get where they're going. If you believe these people are patriotic, you truly will believe anything. And that's exactly where they want you. It's all part of their plan, in my opinion. I mean, this is all just my opinion, but it's based on 4 years of studying them closely. You know, their enemy, facts and evidence.